So go check them out. You will not be disappointed. Hey there, and welcome back to the Mini Weekend. I'm your host, Jack. Let's get into it, Mini. Oh, wow. Drink of the podcast. What did we go with tonight? We went with another one from our friends over at Northern Soda Co. It's called Sweet Liberty. And on the can, it says, obviously craft soda, but it says blue raspberry lemonade. And I have to say, this has to be one of my favorite ones we've done of theirs. This is fantastic. I really think it's lighter. What originally kind of caught me off guard a little bit with the cane sugar, a lot of their sodas are just a little bit thicker, which don't like, that's never been a knock on ratings or anything like that. It's just been something I've noticed with them because they use real cane sugar, and that kind of just makes your soda just a little bit thicker from what I've read up on it. But it's not as thick, which is nice, and it's honestly legitimately tastes like a perfect blend of a lemonade with just like a little bit of a flavor. And I don't know if it's been a while. I always tease my wife. She loves blue raspberry as a flavor, but I always say it's a made up flavor. There's no such thing as a blue raspberry. But this is delicious. It's got a little bit of a bite, little bit of a tart, but not too unbearable. It's so good. Little citrusy to go with the lemonade taste. And like I said, the biggest thing, it's not flat. It's still carbonated, but it's not overly thick despite the cane sugar, which I love. Yeah, Northern Soda Co. For those that are new here, Northern Soda Co. is a Minnesota craft soda brewery specializing in 1950s style sodas, and they're always coming out with new stuff, always have new flavors. If you go onto their website, it's just northernsoda.com. They obviously have their staples that you can find on their website. Some of their staples, without even looking, is like their pontoon punch, their root beer. They have a diet root beer. They have a butterscotch root beer. They have a Minnesota apple. They have Sunday purple, like just a normal orange, and then a couple others, cherry citrus that I like, black cherry, butterscotch root beer, just cola, huckleberry, just to name a few. But they're always coming out with new stuff. And a cool addition to their website, if you go on, they have their online store, and they still actually have some of their Halloween 4-packs if you're interested in have some of their mystery soda experience. And you can buy gear online too, which is pretty cool. But you used to have to, if you bought something, you used to have to go pick it out. You can have it shipped out to you now, which is new and really awesome that they did that. But yeah, like I said, I urge you guys, go check them out, northernsoda.com. You can check out everything. They always have an events calendar. So like they have this Friday, the 15th, they have a sewing class from 2 to 5, DIY craft workshop on the 16th from 1 to 4, bingo night on the 20th for free, introduction to dot painting on the 1st, and then soda sample frenzy, always the last Friday of the month. And for those that are interested, Jack, why are all these events on the weekends? They're actually only open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which is kind of like a cool little perk to them, kind of like something like, Chick-fil-A being closed on Sunday. So definitely go check them out. Tons that you guys can do there. They have like a cool little area. They have a cool like bar top that you can sit at where you can get your sodas from. They have pinball machines. They have a couple of arcade games there, and then they have an abundance of board games as well, cards that you can play, copious amounts of merch. So go check them out. You will not be disappointed. You can also find them on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And yeah, so with that, I will leave you with my rating. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I know I've really liked a couple of their flavors, specifically their cherry citrus, I think, and their black cherry as well. But all jokes aside, this probably has to be one of my new favorites from them. So I'm going to go 9.3. I think it's really awesome. I think this is something that I could see myself drinking year round, whether it's middle of winter, middle of summer. It's versatile, and it's a little bit different because it is a little bit thinner than a lot of these other sodas that they make, so which is pretty cool. So check them out. You will not be disappointed. And yeah, I'll leave you guys with that. Tommy Town, quite a bit to talk about this week as all 4 sports teams are now underway and grinding. First and foremost, the men's hockey team completed the season sweep of the St. Cloud State Huskies. Obviously, the first game of the year, beat St. Cloud State in St. Cloud by a score of 4-3. And then in their lone game this last week, they took on, in the Lee and Penny Anderson Arena, they took on St. Cloud State and beat them by the tune of 3-1 on Tuesday, just a couple days ago. And also in that game, Mr. Lucas Wallen tallied his 100th point. Lucas Wallen scoring the final goal of the game, was the third one, was his 100th point, which is amazing. So yeah, that's what the men's hockey team was in business doing. His fellow class of believers signed their national letter of intent to a 3-32-1 first year in the Division I team that played in a high school rink. Lucas Wallen and his other signees a couple years ago, and now he's got 100 career points, swept a future NCHC foe for the first time on their campus in their 4,000 plus seat arena. So yeah, with that, the Tommies now sit at 4-5-1 overall, 1-1-0 in CCHA play, and the Huskies now sit at 6-6-0, 1-3-0 in NCHC plays. So yeah, that's really cool. And then this upcoming week, the Tommies get back into CCHA play as they will head to. It's kind of, weird here, as they're only playing a single game. They're going out to Sioux Falls, South Dakota for just one game against Augustana, a CCHA game, like I mentioned, November 15th on Saturday at 6:07. So that is the lone game that they have between now and the next podcast. As for the women's team, they are coming off of a series split with the Bemidji State Beavers, winning Friday's game 5-0 and falling 2-1 in game 2 to the Beavers. Have a couple of weekly accolades to bring up too, as the Tommies will be getting, who are number 15th in the nation right now, are getting ready to host number 5 Minnesota Duluth. It was announced earlier this week that juniors Riley Bartz and Janessa Gazdick earned WCHA weekly honors for their performance on the road at Bemidji State. Bartz was named forward of the week, tallying 1 goal and 3 assists on the weekend, and Gazdick earned defender of the week for her stat line of 1 goal and 2 assists and 4 block shots. This is Bartz's 4th WCHA weekly honor of her career, 2nd of the season, and this is Gazdick's 1st honor. So a huge congratulations to both of them as they are looking forward to hosting Minnesota Duluth, who's ranked number 5 right now, on Friday, November 14th, and both games slated for 5 p.m. puck drops. So good luck to them, and hope they can keep climbing up the ranks in the nation for them. And then the men's basketball team has extended earlier today, extended their home win streak now to 20 games, which is unbelievable, beating Green Bay 80-61. The Tommies were led by Nolan Minnesales 20 points. Isaiah Johnson Aguru added 14 points off the bench. And then the Tommies would get 11 from Ben Oosterbaan and 10 from Nick Janowski, which is pretty awesome to see some of these new names and new guys this year coming in and helping out and doing some stuff for the team. But yeah, just like in years past, they're sitting at 2-2 now. They still have a little bit of time to go. They got a game on the 15th here, the Portland Invitational, where they'll have 3 games next weekend. Game at Lawrence, and then starting this December, they will have the Big Sky Summit League Challenge, and then a couple of other games, and they won't actually get Summit League play until the beginning of the year, January 3rd. So it should be an interesting year this year, non-conference wise. They're sitting at 2-2 right now, losing to St. Mary's out in California and Washington State back on Monday, but taking care of the 2 home games that they've had so far. So hopefully they can continue to do that. Their upcoming game will be this Saturday the 15th on ESPN Plus, so I'm hoping to watch most, if not all, of that game at 2 p.m. against Southeast Missouri State, and hopefully capitalizing on that, putting them above 500 for the first time on the year. So a good luck to them. And then for the women's team, are coming off of They are coming off of a tough start to the year. They lost to Iowa State, who it's not like Iowa State is an easy team to beat. They're in the Big 12. The Big 12 is always a dogfight as far as women's basketball and even men's basketball is concerned. They lost that one 36-85. We kind of talked about that one last week, but then they unfortunately lost the home opener 61-67, a hard-fought game against Army. The Tommies actually we're only down 2 at halftime and took a 5-point lead, or after the first quarter, and took a 5-point lead into halftime. Unfortunately, we're only able to muster up 10 points in the final quarter, and we're outscored by 9 points in the final frame to drop their first home game and are still looking for that first one. But if it's any consolation, Savannah McGowan and Alyssa Sand combined for 32 points. Savannah McGowan added 6 rebounds, an assist, and a steal, and Alyssa Sand was all over the boards, all over the stat sheet too, with 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 blocks, and a steal herself. Jada Hood scored 5 points to go with 7 assists. Both Faith Fauerbach and Jada Hood also had 5 rebounds apiece too. So played pretty well as a whole team, just didn't make enough shots down the stretch to get the view, unfortunately. But hey, super early season, they have a lot of time to kind of right this ship, as you so to speak. And this upcoming week, Friday, tomorrow, they will take on Eastern Michigan with another opportunity for their first win in the Liam Penny Anderson Arena. New Jersey Technology, NJIT, on Sunday the 16th, before they will head up to Anchorage, Alaska, for a tournament the following weekend. So we hope they can go getting themselves to 2-2 on the year as well. And then 'tis the season, still that time of the year, football, and guys watching most of the second half of this Tommy game against Drake. I may have spoke too soon saying that they had no chance to win the entire Pioneer Football League. So let me just break this down for you guys. So we beat Drake 20-13. So what that means here is going into the final 2 weeks. So it's weird. I looked at the Pioneer Football League schedule, and St. Thomas plays the final home game and final Pioneer Football League game this Saturday against Presbyterian, who has been dropping. They're now only receiving votes. Earlier this season, I think they were as high as 11 or 12. But they played them at home, and things are a little bit silly now. So not only, like I said, is this our last home game, it's our last conference game, and almost everybody else on the 22nd is playing a conference game. St. Thomas, we're playing North Dakota State, which is going to be a hard one to win. But needless to say, how that happens will not affect our standings in the Pioneer Football League. But let me just paint this picture for you. So right now in Pioneer Football League play, these are our records. Drake is number 1 at 5-1, but remember, we beat them, so we have the tiebreaker with them. Okay. 5-1. Then it's us at 5-2, and then Presbyterian, Dayton, and San Diego all are 4-2. Now it's interesting because I believe, let me go back here, Dayton and San Diego. So I'm pretty sure we lost to San Diego. Yep. We lost to San Diego, so they would have the tiebreaker over us, and we didn't play Dayton this year. So our road to winning the whole thing is Drake plays on Dayton, who's right in the thick of things this upcoming week, and then Morehead State, which doesn't bode well for us. Morehead State is, I guess they're 4-3, but Drake would need to lose for sure one game, if not more. And again, we're in the driver's seat, because if we lose this game against Presbyterian, I don't really think we have a shot, just with the teams that are up there and everything like that. Winning the Pioneer Football League and getting an automatic bid to the playoffs this year is within reach. They pretty much have to win this week against Presbyterian and have a couple other things rolled their way. So we're going to wait and see. But yeah, like I said, getting into that Drake game just a little bit. Obviously, after starting the season 2-3, the Tommies have now rattled off 5 straight wins against Davidson, Valparaiso, Stetson, Mars, and now Drake. And this one was a good kind of back and forth game. St. Thomas struck first with a Stefano Giovanelli touchdown reception to get the Tommies on the board in the first. And then a Ben Holland field goal later in the second quarter would tie the game up at 10-10 going into halftime. And then ultimately what would essentially be the difference maker was in the third quarter. Gabriel Abell's 2-yard running touchdown was effectively the difference maker in a snowy game down in Des Moines. So yeah, overall, I thought from what I remember watching, really sound, really good play. Andy Peters had another, again, there wasn't a ton of passing because of the weather condition. 13 of 21, 121 yards. He himself ran for 66 yards. Gabriel Abell, a touchdown on 11 carries and 37 yards. Stefano Giovanelli ran for a touchdown as well. 1 attempt on 6 yards. And yeah, there were 4 players that finished with at least 3 receptions for the Tommies as well. And then on the defensive side of things, you had Nick Hand and Ryan Seaver right in the thick of things, 12 and 10 total sacks, respectively. Ryan Seaver having 1 sack, 2 tackle for losses. Everybody getting in on the mix of things. And Tommy's had an interception to go with it as well. So, like you said, this team is kind of clicking at the right time. This is when you want to get hot and be playing really good football if they were to get the nod and go on to the postseason play. Again, just with where they are in the standings and with not being ranked, I think their only chance is to win it. And it looks like it could happen, as barring a loss this week, then that kind of goes out the window. Unless you find a way to actually beat North Dakota State, which I don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, Tommy football team getting ready for Presbyterian was receiving votes, like I mentioned, this Saturday, November 15th. This Saturday, November 15th, 1 p.m. at the O'Shaughnessy Stadium. And you can bet your ass I'm going to be watching that game. So should be a good one. Roll Toms. And hopefully they can win the Pioneer Football League and we can see them in some late season, postseason play. And then as for the Gophers, they were on their last bye of the year this last week, getting ready to go to, they're already in Eugene, but take on them at tomorrow night, Friday the 14th, at number 8 Oregon. And I gotta say, they have a tall task at hand. The good news is they're 6-3, so they are already bowl eligible. But you'd really like to see them win for sure 1, if not 2 more games. The weird thing about this Gopher game is they're currently, I want to make sure I have the right. Okay, this is what I thought it was. They're 25.5-point underdogs to Oregon. I'm personally not betting on this game because if there's one thing the Gophers have shown me is that I can't bet on them. They're too back and forth, and they're too when they're supposed to do one thing, they do another thing. I would like to think with what we've seen in some games, again, I'm saying some games, not all, in some games this year, that they should, if nothing else, should be able to cover those points. Even if they lose by 21 points, you bet on the Gophers plus 25.5 and you technically win that bet. But there's always a part of me that just thinks we're just going to go into Eugene and just get dog walked by this team. The Oregon Ducks are very good. 8-1 overall, 5-1 in Big Ten play. Their lone loss coming to Indiana, which weirdly enough was actually at home, 20-30. But Indiana is, I can't believe I'm going to say it, and actually a really, really great team this year. So yeah, like I said, I'd really like to think that they're going to cover the points. I don't know. Jack, is that your segment into college football bets? You bet your ass it is. But the Gophers are not on my list. So with that, let's just get into them. So this week's college football week 12 picks I got for you guys. Once again, I've got 4 from you. Nope, I'm going to forewarn you guys right now. None of them are the Gophers. This last week had a pretty good week, 3-1, bringing still staying above that 500 threshold. 20-18, Arizona, Alabama, LSU under 50, and Cal plus 20.5 half. I told you guys I would not be surprised if they actually won that game. The only one that didn't hit was Oregon, crazily enough. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. College football week 12 picks. The first one I got for you guys is Air Force UConn to go over 63.5 points. Both of these offenses will be able to take advantage of each other's poor defenses as far as I'm concerned. Air Force currently has the second best rushing defense in the nation, while UConn's run defense ranks one of the worst in the nation. I believe when I checked earlier today, it was like 8 or something like that. I think this is going to be a game that goes back and forth with an abundance of points. So give me Air Force UConn over 63.5 points. Second pick I like, Texas Tech minus 23 points against UCF. The Red Raiders are coming off of a big win last week over BYU, and I anticipate them to ride that momentum into this Week 12 matchup against UCF. I'm going to keep it simple. I think Texas Tech just has too many weapons for this UCF team to lock down for it to be a close game. So that's why I like Texas Tech Red Raiders to cover the 23 points here. Third pick, I like Miami minus 15.5 at home against NC State. Look, Miami is already at a point where they need to win and win big, and I really like this game for them to put up some style points. This is NC State's third tough game in a row. Yes, they won this last week, but I think this is a even bigger letdown spot for the Wolfpack than it is an opportunity for the Hurricanes to put up massive points. So give me Miami minus 15.5. Excuse me. And then lastly, but certainly not least, my fourth pick I like is BYU minus 5.5 at home against TCU. Like I mentioned earlier, BYU simply got embarrassed this last weekend to Texas Tech, and I think this is a great bounce back spot for them. I can't read tonight, but I think their quarterback, Bear Bachmeier, will play a lot better. The lights may have been just a little bit too bright for him this last weekend for him and the Cougars, but now he's got some experience under his belt to play a little bit better, especially now as a favorite at home. So give me BYU minus 5.5. So in conclusion, we got Air Force UConn over 63.5 points, Texas Tech minus 23 points, Miami minus 15.5, and then BYU minus 5.5. And then before I let you guys go farther into the episode, remember, guys, I am not a financial advisor, so do what you will with these picks. I am not liable for any losses, just like I will not come after you for any of your wins as well. Bet responsibly, and if you have any issues, call 1-800-GAMBLER, and they will get you the help and resources you need to get better. So with that, we will, as we say, go onward and upward. So this week, again, we got another really cool, really sweet ultra long sleeve hoodie Vikings get up. Super cool. Again, super simple. It's their taupe color. Got the Vikings emblem at the beginning here, at the front here. On a sleeve, you can kind of see it a little bit. It says Minnesota, which is pretty sweet. I thought the other one said Vikings. It doesn't. It's just one that says Minnesota, which is really cool. But it's just these ultra tees, if you guys have any, are so comfy, so comfy, so cozy. I'm not kidding you guys. I wear these out. I wear them in. I wear them over shirts. I wear them under jackets. I even sleep in these things. Like, they're so comfortable. And then, keeping it simple, got a Crossroad snapback tonight. But yeah, again, guys, unreal. Really, I mean, it should really be their slogan. Unreal simply is unreal. They have copious amounts of collaborations going on. Their drop 3 this last weekend, or this last Tuesday just dropped. This upcoming Tuesday, they have their 4th drop for all 14 teams. Tons of stuff in their signature drops for all the 14 teams, as well as the Vikings. Excuse me. And if that's not enough, after November 18th's 4th drop, they will be coming out with their whiteout edition on December 9th for Vikings specific. So keep your eyes peeled for those things. Like I said, go check them out, unrl.com. You can find them all over social media. I promise you guys, if you are even remotely interested or enjoy athleisure clothing, go check them out. Top of the line as far as I'm concerned. And then don't forget to go to our YouTube page and in all of our weekly episodes, I have my link in there, and if you click on that link and order through that link, you'll get $15 off your first order and start accruing points to get more points and dollars off in future orders as well. So go check them out. Like I said, unrl.com, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, Instagram, Twitter, and even YouTube. So you guys will not be disappointed, I promise you. Yeah. So that's what we have for that for UNRL. And then for, weirdly enough, for both the Wild and the Wolves, they have kind of both, since starting off a little bit lackluster, have actually, seem to kind of turn things around a little bit. The Wild are currently on a, oh gosh, you're loading now, of course you are. They're currently on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 game point streak, and in that time are 4-1-1. Currently sitting, again, the standings are a little bit misleading. The third from the bottom with 18 points. But 3, 4, and 5 are Winnipeg, Utah, Chicago, who all have 20 points. We're right there again in the middle of this. Colorado, obviously, I shouldn't say obviously. Colorado's got 29, Dallas has 25. But again, it almost seems like they've been listening to us. They're starting to play, a little bit better 5-on-5. They're starting to get more goals from the non all-star superstar players, which is helpful. And on top of it, we got Jesper Wallstedt, who is actually playing some really good hockey right now. He currently in, let me see, I think he's only had 5 yet. In his 5 starts this year, he's 3-1, has a 2.51 goals against average, and has a 901 save percentage, and 1 shutout to go on with that, which is pretty crazy if you don't, if you take my word for it. His shutout 36 save performance stopped 25 of 27 shots against a tough New York Islander team for a win there. Obviously the San Jose and the Philadelphia games stunk, but even against the LA Los Angeles Kings, he gave up 3 goals in the shootout win, but he stopped 31 of 34 shots. So it's not like he gave up 3 goals on 15, 16 shots. So again, I'm not going to sit here and anoint him saying he's going to be the next Patrick Waugh, but I think these 5 games that we've seen him here, he played 2 games kind of back to back, the 7th and 9th. And I think with his recent play, they will probably look to him to take some pressure off of Gustafsson, because I think part of Gustafsson's issue is once you play him, 5, 6, 7 games in a row, and 2 of those or 1 of those is a back-to-back, it wears on you, and that's when you're vulnerable and when you give up some goals, and isn't less than ideal for the Wild, because you don't want to lose those games and you want to keep trending in the right direction. But like I said, within the last couple of weeks, I've really liked what I've seen from the Wild. They're, like I said, they're playing better 5-on-5. They're getting some solid goaltending from Jesper Wallstedt. They're getting goals from Vinny Hinostroza, some of these non-all-star players on the team. And again, they continue to do these things, and good things are going to come, and the wins are just going to pile up as far as I'm concerned. So they keep on this trajectory, it is going to be a super fun season. And then for this upcoming week, for the Wild, will be in action on Saturday the 15th against the Anaheim Ducks at home, 5 p.m. Sunday 5 p.m. against the Vegas Golden Knights. And then the night of the next podcast, 8:30 versus Carolina. Jack, are we getting back to Thursday night podcasts? No, we're not. We're still planning on doing Wednesday night podcasts. I'll just be completely honest with you guys. I've been lazy these last couple of weeks, and so no, we're still on track for my weekly visitors and watchers. Tuesday nights, we will be doing our mini pick'ems through the rest of the season, and those will get posted to the YouTube channel either that night or very early Wednesday morning, and then Wednesday night podcast getting posted late Wednesday nights or really early Thursday morning. So I apologize for being just a little bit lazy these last couple of weeks, but yes, we are still planning on doing Wednesday night podcasts. And then Again, similar to the Wild, not a ton of news to talk about for the Minnesota Timberwolves. But starting off really good. They're sitting 7-4 right now in the on the season after starting 2-3, have now rattled off to go 5-4, 5-1 in their last 6 games. The only loss being to a good Knicks team in New York. And they're doing it with the emergence of, what's his name? Jaden McDaniels. One of the few things I want to talk about in terms of the Wolves. Jaden McDaniels, again, we're 10 games into the season, but his emergence here this year has shown that now we have a solidified like number 3 scorer, number 3 shooter. So far this year, he's averaging 18.4 points per game, 2.5 assists per game, essentially a block and a half a game, and a steal per game, on 55% shooting from the floor and 53.8% shooting from three. Again, it's not like we need this all year from him, but if he can be this level of consistency as far as scoring, that is going to be huge for us. You're always going to get some points from DiVincenzo. Gobert is going to get you some points. Nasri is going to get you some points. Dillingham, Connolly, all those guys will. But I think part of the thing that if the Timberwolves could do consistently is having Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle, and then having that solid 3. I mean, you look at the Lakers, and last year before they kind of got bogged down and into the playoffs, one of the things they had going for them was they had 3 legitimate scoring options. You had LeBron, who's obviously LeBron. You had Luka, and then you had Austin Reeves, who's been doing some amazing things too. So to go with that, it's pretty amazing that you got 2 guys averaging 25 points or more a game, and 6 points averaging 10.8 points per game or more. Naz Reid 10.8, Rudy Gobert 10.9, Dante DiVincenzo 13.8. Jaden 18.4, and then Julius 25.4, and Anthony Edwards 27.1. So again, I know a lot of people might sit here and say, "Oh, they've had a really shitty schedule the last couple games," and yeah, our last 5 games have come against the Hornets, the Nets, 2 against the Jazz, and the Kings. But it's still the NBA, and you still got to beat these teams, and there are teams that are good teams in this league that are losing to an occasional bad team. And again, talk about it all the time. That's what separates the good teams and the great teams. The great teams are 9 times out of 10 beating the teams they need to beat. The good teams, they usually beat teams they got no business beating, but then they'll lose to teams that they got no business losing to. So they're beating the teams they need to beat. So this next step for the team is obviously to just continue on and keep getting these wins. So for them, they'll be in action on Friday the 14th p.m. Against the Sacramento Kings, and then they got Denver the night after that on Saturday at 7. Monday the 17th, Cooper Flag and the Dallas Mavericks will come to town for a 7 p.m. game. So with that, Vikings and NFL, I first reactions here for our games and stuff like that. And, it was a really unfortunate game. Really unfortunate game because once again, we talked about it and it's so true. It was our second self-induced loss. I mean, you had 13 total turnovers, 8 of them false starts. Or not turnovers, 13 total penalties, 8 false start penalties, 3 turnovers, including 2 interceptions. One of them was not JJ's fault. But the fact that all of that crap happened and you still only lost by 8, like usually when teams have a game like that, they're losing by at least 13 points, if not more. But again, that's a testament to just how good this defense is for us and how much of an impact that they put on games like this. So obviously, it really stinks that we weren't able to get it done. But these next couple games for the Vikings, and just even these next 3 to 4 weeks for the NFC North, are going to be big in terms of playoff seeding, who's going to be making the playoffs and everything. And I have to say, at the end of week 13, I really think not only for the Vikings, but by the end of week 13, you'll have a sense of who is going to win the division, who is probably going to not necessarily win the division, but make the playoffs, and who's not making the playoffs. And I'm just going to break it down for you. We're going next the NFC North teams, next 3 games, week 11, 12, 13. So the Vikes, again, everybody or most people should know, we're hosting the Bears this upcoming week. Then we go to Green Bay. Then we go to Seattle. 3 tough games. But again, if we can win these 3 games, I really think we can win 6 in a row, because then after these 3 games, you have a bottom of the barrel Washington team, you have bottom of the barrel Dallas team, and a bottom of the barrel Giants team. So if you can find a way, they don't need to be pretty, find a way to win these next 3 games, all of a sudden you rattle off 6 games in a row and you're sitting at 10-5, which is pretty immaculate. So that's all I'm going to say on that front. And then the Bears, they go to Minnesota, and then they host Pittsburgh, host Philadelphia, and then even for them in week 14, they go to Philadelphia, and then in week 14 they go to Green Bay. So they got 4 really tough games in a row. Lions, they go to Philadelphia, go to the Giants. They kind of get an easier game against the Giants, and then they host Green Bay. Then the Packers, they go to the Giants, host us, go to Detroit, and then host Chicago. So like I said, for sure by the end of week 14, more than likely by the end of week 13, you're going to get a sense of who's kind of the favorite to win the division, who's going to make the playoffs, and who's just not going to make the playoffs. Needless to say, it's going to be a fun and entertaining next couple of weeks for not only the Vikings, but the rest of the NFC North as well. Should be a good one, and I can't wait to see what we're able to do, honestly. So, yeah, that's all I'm really going to talk about in terms of following up that game. We don't need to beat a dead horse. Not a great game. Surprisingly, that was JJ's first game throwing for over 200 yards, which is insane. Coming into this game, in his 4 games he's played, he is throwing the ball 53.7% for 692 yards, 5 touchdowns with 6 interceptions. But again, my non-casual fans will understand that not every 6 interceptions he's thrown were they his fault, and that is key. But there was, before we move on and kind of talk about our picks for the week, how we think the Bears game is going to go and everything like that, I did find a graphic this week that I'm going to upload and put down here for you guys to see. And I'm going to put up on my phone and talk through it, because I want people to realize I understand if you're a Vikings fan, there's kind of like this sense of urgency, even though we have a really young quarterback, but there's a sense of urgency because you don't want to waste JJ's prime. You don't want him to be another Chris Carter, Randy Moss, where it's like we should have won a Super Bowl with him, but we didn't. He was just a really good receiver, yada, yada, yada. But I think you really have to have some grace. And I'm not saying it's easy. Believe me, it's not easy. But you need to have a little bit of grace when it comes to developing this young quarterback. I'm going to put it down here, and it's comparing him to Josh Allen. But I think people forget, aside from Patrick Mahomes, you look at Jalen Hurts, you look at Josh Allen, you look at Baker Mayfield a little bit, Lamar Jackson, Jared Goff. Like, you look at some of these quarterbacks that right now are touted as some of the best quarterbacks in the league. They struggled for a couple of years, let alone their first year of starting. And now I'm going to put this graphic up for you guys. Through Josh Allen's first 4 starts, he went 2 for 2, 55% completion percentage, 674 yards, 2 touchdowns with 5 interceptions, 109 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, and a fumble, 61% pass rating, and 6 sacks taken. And JJ has pretty comparable stats. He's got a little bit better yards thrown. He's got more touchdowns, more rush yards, better passer rating, and less sacks taken. So, and again, this is comparing him to a current NFL MVP. So again, this isn't me dubbing him saying he's going to be the next Tom Brady. I personally think he is going to be our quarterback of the future and going to be our guy going forward. But it's just like, give the guy, have a little bit of patience with him. I understand it's hard to lose a game like that. I'm not trying to make light of that situation, but let's just remember that our quarterback is 22 years old, and fortunately for Jalen Hurts, Lamar, and Josh Allen, they were drafted to teams that were literally the bottom of the barrel. So the first 2-3 years in the league, they didn't have a lot of national expectations around them simply because of just how bad their team was. And I understand JJ's not in that situation, but I think regardless of the talent around him, you still have to have some grace for a young quarterback to develop and such. So that's all I'm going to say. I can't wait for this upcoming game. So let's just get into our NFL Week 11 picks. Excuse me. So for the upset this week, again, these line up with my picks for the week, and you guys just have to listen to my reasoning. So the upset I like are the Titans minus 7.5. The Texans got an unexpected spark from Davis Mills in the fourth quarter to save their season this last week. Whether it's him or CJ Stroud in this game, I think they can rely more on their key playmakers like Nico Collins to move the ball well enough to grind away a victory on a post-bye matchup against a divisional foe that's not very good. But at the same time, they have nothing to lose. This is another rough defensive matchup for Cam Ward. I think the Texans will win this game, but I don't think they're going to cover the spread. So Texans minus 7.5. Lock of the week, Packers minus 6.5. Brian Dable is out for the Giants. And a lot of people might say, does that give them a little bit of emotional bump? I think it might. But Green Bay is coming off a short week, and the Giants might actually be without Jackson Dart, who left last week's game with a concussion, a possible second concussion of the year. Jameis Winston is going to come in. I don't think he's going to do that great, but it is worth noting New York had no sacks in week 10, and if they can't pressure Jordan Love in this game could get ugly for New York. So give me the Packers minus 6.5. And then for the Vikings game, again, I'm taking the Vikings minus 3.5. The Bears have pulled out dramatic fourth quarter victories in each of the last 2 weeks with Caleb Williams. The difference this time around, our defense. JJ McCarthy led a dramatic comeback against Chicago in week 1, and he has a 50% completion percentage in his last 2 starts. And I think we make stand late in desperation mode to stay afloat in the NFC North. It's also worth noting coming into this game, we're the only team that has not lost a divisional game. We're 2-0, so I think we win the game. So I'm taking the Vikings minus 3.5. So yeah, honestly, I think what it comes down to is this team is very much a roller coaster. We have not won 2 games in a row, and we have not lost more than 2. We have not won 2 games in a row, and we have not lost more than 2 consecutive games in a row. Very much a roller coaster. So I'm anticipating us bounce back, but the biggest difference, I think that Chicago defense is leaky. They have to be able to run the ball efficiently and pass the ball efficiently. When Chicago's getting a little bit of pressure, JJ's got to continue to do a good job of using his feet, get out of the pocket, deliver throws when needed, and run when needed too. I think that was one thing this last week I wasn't super sold on. Seems skittish to move his feet and get a couple extra yards with his legs, which didn't seem like him. But that's beside the point. I think it's going to be a close game, but I ultimately got us winning this game 31-27. Again, the bank's going to be rocking. We're going to be really wanting a win, not wanting to drop to 4-6 on the year. So yeah, 31-27 offensively. I had Justin Jefferson getting his mojo back. He goes for 100 yards and a TD. And then our defense, I think, is going to get a defensive score in this game, whether it's a pick 6 or a scoop and score. I think it happens. We got to pick it up with our in-game stuff. Our in-game pick is atrocious. We're 3-15, and in week 7, 8, and 9, we got defensive. We have what? 1, 2, 3, 9, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games. We've guessed 3 defensive ones correctly and 0 offensive correctly. Gotta get it going, and hopefully we can go 2-0 this week. I am pumped, and I'm hopeful we can do that. So yeah, and then before I let you guys go, we have our famous NFL other bets for the week, and this is what I like for you guys. First one, Giants and Packers under 43.5 points. Again, I know I just kind of talked about I think this game could get ugly, but I think it's going to be a big defensive matchup for both teams. I think we also saw this last week. This play calling and this for Matt LaFleur and this offensive struggle just wasn't great. I think the Packers should be able to win this one, something like maybe like a 21-10 game or something like that. I do believe they're the better team. I just don't think there's going to be a ton of points scored in this one. Bears Vikings, I think, goes over 48.5 points. Again, I think you have two high powered offenses with a group of 2 to 4 wide receivers on both sides that are doing really well. Our defense has been playing pretty well, but I think that should hit the over. And then the last two I like the Seahawks to keep that game close against the Rams. So I like them plus 3.5. And then the Cowboys minus 3.5 over the Las Vegas Raiders. So yeah, Giants Packers under 43.5 points. Bears Vikings over 48.5 points. Seahawks plus 3.5 and Cowboys minus 3.5. Those are the picks that I got for you guys this week. The other picks, super jacked up. Let's go get this win. Let's bring this into the next couple tough games, and let's get some grind them out games. Let's see some more developing from JJ McCarthy. It sounds like he's playing with a brace on his hand or like a wrap because he hit his finger or something on it. So hopefully he can get his mojo back. But yeah, all things pointing up. And with that, I will leave you guys with go follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, all that stuff. We post everything on all that stuff. What else do we got for you guys? Reach out if you guys have any topics or questions you want us to address here. But most importantly, make sure you go onto YouTube and subscribe to the channel when the episodes drop and wherever you listen audioly. And with that, till next time, Minnie. Fucking finally.